Hey everyone, Forex Breezio here, back with another video, 9 p.m. on Thursday, September 21st, 2023. Hope everybody's having a great week. So, looking at what's on my screen. Okay, well, I've done a few videos recently using the Smooth Heiken Ashi. Okay, and I did one, at least one with candlesticks in the Smooth Heiken Ashi, so something to this effect. Something to this effect with the Heiken Ashi Smooth overlaid on the candlesticks, okay? And then I did one with just the Heiken Ashi Smooth without any candlesticks, such as this one. And now we have this one right here. Okay, so let's talk about this one. Okay, so again, what we have, guys, is two custom indicators. These are free indicators that I found. This is MetaTrader 4. These are basically two Smooth Heiken Ashi indicators. It's the same indicator, I just changed the color and the period. So this is it here, the Smooth Heiken Ashi, okay? And what we have here is, now let me tell you again what these represent. So I'm not going to go over how Heiken Ashi candles are calculated. You can look that up. But what this indicator does is it puts the Heiken Ashi in the form of a moving average, okay? So you can see this one right here, which is this blue one, is this right here. It's basically set to a 100 period moving average, so exponential. So if I added a regular old-fashioned 100 period exponential moving average, it would lay perfectly over this one right here. Okay? And this one is set to 10 periods, linear weighted, which is a little bit more sensitive than exponential, but they're pretty close. So this one's 10 periods. So if I took a 10 period linear weighted moving average, which is available in the platform, no problem, it would overlay on top of this, exactly. Okay? So I just want to kind of like set that right now about what you're looking at. These are Heiken Ashi calculated candlesticks overlaid on top of a moving average. Okay? So you can set these however you want. Simple, exponential, linear weighted, smooth, in any length, just the way you do with any other moving average. Okay, so just understand these basically are two moving averages, but they have Heiken Ashi laid over the top of them. Now this one looks a little funky because the higher you go up in the calculation, they start to get the wicks and the candles start to look a little weird. It looks like a giant millipede. But the main idea as far as the color change goes, which is the calculation of the candles, of the formula that's built into this, is what's important, okay? Not necessarily, how the candles look. The 10 period one looks a little bit more like a regular Heiken Ashi. If you put regular Heiken Ashi candles, it looks a lot closer. Okay, so what do we do with this? Well, this is basically a moving average crossover strategy without the candlesticks. You're basically combining Heiken Ashi candles and moving averages into one indicator and using it without candlesticks. Okay, so again, because these are moving averages, the one thing you have to remember is that the price may not line up with where the indicator is sitting. Now in this case it does. Right over here where it says 134.787, that's the current price. Okay, and so you can see if I put my crosshair there, it lines up right with this Heiken Ashi, but sometimes it doesn't. The more impulsive, and I said this in the last video, the more impulsive the price action is, the more separation there'll be. Just like any time you overlay a moving average, especially a short moving average, it's always going to lag behind the price a little bit, okay? So if I put the candlesticks on here, you would see that. All right? But that's okay, because what we're doing is we're using these to gauge price change, direction change, and momentum. Okay? So this is the US dollar Canadian on the 4-hour chart. You can see we had this big uptrend. We had the crossover back here, and then we had no exit all the way up here. Okay, even though the Heiken Ashi, the 10-period one, we had a little pullback, a deeper pullback. It never broke through. This never changed, so this would have been a buy all the way up. Now, obviously, you may have gotten out over here. Probably not here. There's a pretty small pullback. Okay, and now you can see we've turned down. We have the 10-period Heiken Ashi has crossed through the 100. So this is just like basically a moving average crossover. It's pretty basic, but it takes the uniqueness of using the Heiken Ashi to help you with the momentum change and help you understand the color change, to help you identify, what might be a good trade to get into and what might not be. Okay, so if you look, basically where we're at right now on the on the 4-hour chart, we're now in the downtrend. We've actually taken out a support level here, retested it right here. I'm going down again. Now, of course, we're in the Asian session, so there's very, very little price action. Everything's very quiet, which is typical. So now if we go to the 1-hour chart, here's that down move on the 1-hour chart, and you can see the Heiken Ashi stayed red the whole time. And then we had these little pullback areas. These would have been good areas to get into this trade short. Okay, so now what do we have right now on the 1-hour chart? We have prices broken through. The Heiken Ashi turned blue for a short period, but you can see it just kind of went sideways. And now it's turning red again. So potentially, this is just a nice deep pullback, and perhaps we'll get another push down. Okay, on the 4-hour chart, that would be confirmed because we're, definitely in a downtrend. And if you wanted to go to a higher time frame, okay, we are still making lower highs here, although the daily time frame has not confirmed because we still have a blue 100 period. Okay, so this is pretty unique, guys. And again, this is a trend following system, guys. And all the color changes just help you with timing as far as when to potentially get in and out of trades, and also flag potential reversals, even if they're only temporary. If you come over here, okay, there was a potential trade down. This is against the larger trend, but we had price breakthrough, the moving average. Both of these turned red. You could have potentially taken a trade here, picked up 65 pips before the uptrend continued. This is the 1-hour chart, or you just didn't trade this at all, and you waited for this to happen, for price to rally back, and for this to turn blue again, and then you could have, again, held this all the way up. Okay, so that is basically what you're looking at here. So that's the US dollar Canadian. Here is the Aussie US dollar. Again, on the 4-hour chart, it looks like potentially we could be heading back down here. This has been in a big downtrend. We had a little corrective area here. Then we had this one here. You can see price broke above it here on the 4-hour. But you see the moving average, the Heiken Ashi, if you just take the center line of this, really just kind of went sideways. It really never really bent up. So we'll see what happens with this, but I have to think this probably will keep going down. If you want to look at a higher time frame, we're clearly still in a downtrend here on the daily. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and now we're actually trading back through here. So these are opportunities to potentially take short positions if that's what you decide to do. Again, it's not trading advice. Make your own decisions. So, and then, this is the Aussie Swiss, which, again, on the 4-hour chart, we're in a bit of an uptrend. We are kind of trending up here. Okay, so where's this going to go? Well, if we take a peek at the daily chart, we're still in a downtrend on the daily chart. So you certainly could trade this to the upside as a counter trend trade, just understanding that you're still, working a downtrend on the daily chart. And you can see this just really helps bring these different time frames into focus and lets you help you determine. Now, really, it depends what time frames you like to trade on. If the 4 hour is going to be like your max time frame, then it still probably is a good idea to take a peek at the daily just to see if it's at a key level or something. But essentially, guys, you can just use the 4 hour, for instance, and then use the 1 hour for your entry. You can see there was a nice uptrend on the 1 hour. We had this pullback here where things turned red again, but it quickly came back and has rallied through, and you'd be up something like 150 pips on this pair if you took it from back here. We go back to the 4 hour. Okay, that was basically the turn on the 4 hour chart. But even if you waited until over here, okay, basically like right here, all right, that was here after this big corrective move, and then you can see it's gone straight up. So you can use whatever pairs of time frames you want. And look, guys, I know there's probably people watching this saying, what the heck is this guy showing? And it's just another way to look at it. Everybody trades differently, has different ways they like to look at charts. This is just for people who are just very visual people. And Heiken Ashi candles are a great way to kind of smooth out noise. They're not calculated the way regular candlesticks are, but this takes a moving average and adds in Heiken Ashi to give you a very unique view of what price is doing. And the color changes just help you kind of gauge where it is. In other words, this kind of tells you, when you might want to think about getting back in. So price is going up. You have this kind of gold color here. Well, you're not going to try to jump the gun here. The price was still going up. The Heiken Ashi candles were still pointing and painting bullish ones. And then, right about here, on these two, and say, okay, well, maybe this is the turn. And sure enough, it was, and it kept going down. So it allows you to not have to second guess when the turn's going to take place. You simply, gauge where the trend is, and what you think it's going to continue. And use the 100 period maybe as your guide, and then you're just waiting for pullback areas, and then when the color turns, you have a low risk trade. If you went in short right here, well, let's say you went short right here, okay, this isn't very impulsive, but let's say you were watching this in real time. Price comes up here, turns red, you go short, you put your stop right above here, you had a very small loss and you were out. Happened again here, out, okay, and then you break above, okay, and now you're heading up, and now basically you could be looking for long positions as long as you feel you should. Again, always keeping an eye on the daily chart to understand the daily is still in the downtrend, and at some point I would expect this to turn back to the downside. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one, okay. And I could just go through all of these. I like to use the 4 hour kind of as where the trend is, and I like to just look for pullbacks on the 4 hour, potential reversals if one comes, where the things just completely change direction. The 10 period Heiken Ashi passes through, and we get a total color change. And then I might consider a reversal trade potentially. But if you want to align yourself with the daily chart, you certainly can do that. So in this case, if price started going up, you could potentially just ignore that and just wait for a signal go short, because on the daily chart, on this is the Euro CAD, we have broken through again right here, and we have we have this the longer Heiken Ashi Smooth has turned red. We broke through here, we came back and retested, now we're failing again. And so, potentially that this Euro CAD trade has substantially more to the downside to go. Do you want to take this right now? Well, I don't know. Maybe you go to the 1 hour chart and you look for an entry here, or you just wait for a nice pullback on the 4 hour chart and you go short then. Just depends what your time horizon is for when you like to enter. But the point to this, guys, again, is it just points out and gives you a nice visual of where the trend is without noisy candlesticks. You always could overlay the candlesticks back on here again if you wanted to. I think that would be too much. I think if you're going to do that, you just go back to just overlaying the Heiken Ashi on top of the, just overlaying the Heiken Ashi on top of the regular candlestick, something like this. Okay? Where this is just, here's that 100 period moving average, and you can still see the candlesticks, and you're still seeing the shorter time period Heiken Ashi Smooth, but you're still visualizing the candlesticks, and that's fine too. It really depends what you want. But I just thought this was kind of a very funky way to look at this, because it just takes the candlesticks completely out of the picture and just allows you to visualize just this. And again, you could look at it with, even without the 100 period, and just look at it with just the 10 period, and just do simple, trend following this way, and just use structure. In this case, you could just use supply and demand structure, and, support resistance areas to help you find potential trades. You're not using the 100 period as a crossover strategy. You're simply looking at the price action of the 10 period one. And you're basically looking at this as candlesticks, even though all this really is, again, is a 10 period moving average with Heiken Ashi candles overlaid on top of it. So you certainly could do this too, if having that 100 period one is too distracting, or you don't like crossover strategies and you just want to look at simple price action type chart. That's basically what this is. It's just Heiken Ashi price action instead of regular candlesticks. Okay? And of course you could change the period of this, but if you're trading at a trend, I wouldn't advise going much higher than 10 or 20, because then you're going to slow it down too much. And again, if you slow it down too much, you're going to have a lot of gap between where price is and where the Heiken Ashi candles are showing. So I would keep this length pretty short. And you also will lose, if you go too high, you'll also lose a lot of these little fine correction areas. Let's say I make this 50, and you can see what this does, okay? I mean, I guess you could look at it and say, well, this is great. It's in a downtrend here. I'm just going to just keep following this down. Every time it turns yellow, I'll look to re-enter short until this crosses up. I guess you could do that, but you just lose the nuance of what, of these corrective things. So I'm not sure I would do that, but hey, again, play around with it and, see what you like. So that's it, guys. So again, it's kind of going back to what I mentioned before about trading without the candlesticks and just using the smooth Heiken Ashi. And you could put two versions of it on your chart and use it, like I said, like a crossover strategy with a short and a longer one. For those of you that, if you're a moving average person, you still like moving average crossovers, this brings a unique view to that, because it gives you the crossover, but using Heiken Ashi formula to still help smooth out the noise, and also to give you those color changes that you don't get just with a moving average. So, all right, so yeah, just figured I'd throw that out there, guys. Might not be at all for you. I'm not saying it's for me either. I just think it's something novel. I'm playing around with it on a few pairs. I think it is a different way of looking at it, and takes, again, some of the noise of the candlesticks out, but still allows you to visualize the trend and have some color changes to help you support your decisions, in addition to using price action, supply and demand, support and resistance levels, whatever you want to call it. And of course, taking, fundamentals and, make sure you follow economic news that could cause these things to change direction, because ultimately it is the fundamentals that moves the markets, not technicals. It's not indicators. That's all just the manifestation of the economics of the pair of the currencies. Okay, so, but that's, like I said, is kind of beyond the scope of what I talk about here. But people say, well, do you trade just technicals? No, I don't. I do pay attention to news, and certain websites that I look at. Things like tradingeconomics.com. This is probably one of my favorite ones, where you get a nice homepage snapshot of the news, and then you can go in and look at different indicators for different countries, and like such as interest rates and things like that. So I do look at this stuff. I don't study every single thing on here, but I keep an eye on it, and I keep an eye on the home page here and just see what's going on. And you can also track commodities and things like that on here too. So this is just an example of a site that I like to look at. But we're just talking about after you've looked at that stuff, what do you do with it? This is when you come to the charts and use your technical skills, no matter what that is, to try to find areas to enter. So, all right, so I will leave it there, guys. I hope you have a great rest of the week. And any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Make sure you smash that like button. Please do that now, and subscribe to the channel if you're just finding it for the first time. And nothing ever for sale on this channel. Free content. Take it for what it's worth. I post a lot of different views of the charts and potential things to look at. You have to come and find what works for you and your trading personality and trading style. Not everything works for everybody, and so that's why I present different things. I really don't even talk about like what I use primarily, because I do have my favorite strategies, but sometimes I tweak it and use stuff like this just to see, to back test a little bit and forward test and just watch certain pairs even if I'm not trading them to see what price does and see if there's anything to it. And a lot of times I decide, nope, that's not for me, or it doesn't work, and I scrap it. But sometimes, it looks pretty good, and sometimes something unique and simple is all you need to be profitable. So, all right, guys, I'll leave it there. Have a great night. If I don't talk to you, have a great weekend, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks.